Okay, so that definitely I'm single my friend is like that. Like every one of that team members who might have been like one of few or very few of that also team members who might have been steadily and secretly allied to that the Russian while going through that the energy of Russian energy of the any technology of them that might have steadily made that declare and might have steadily managed to like transfer of to all the way to that Russia might have been what might have happened if that one person together, but a lot of the different of that maybe that the Russian service like while that all the state members were like coming through that Russian cannot be covered in get the model of that at that point maybe that the Russian service that might have hidden themselves and might have steadily taken off that few of that on that team members that owns and program you can might have on the skies of that on the team members and them might have those cutting force members might have with that disguise might have get the transporter of white coming through might have stepping transporter that of all the way to that but yeah without owning that not even realizing myself definitely not that definitely I'm so different on that points to real of the innocent and definitely on not even doing other about that offer doing that I feel to the perspective. It's definitely my taking very my personal voice. Also, like that way, according to my taking very much time to take a plane for that and eventual exchange and that current supposed to that demand an exchange from choice of that sending to 11 for like copper and that lead that supposed like is the person like not realizing about like 11 having lost of powers like the scenario that I'm and Joyce and Morador and the bring that what they say and was attacked by Owens and Team during that exchange and that way to let's say for and like along those lines like the different like Joyce and Morador and along like Owens like planning is like was not in that everything but like I'm looking that Owens still not suspecting a traitor in his like team even at that point and that way like Owens like while detailing out like his like ambush plan to say for at 11 from like the supposed during that exchange like at that point that they were going like the price of making that information to that tracking force basically that way while on something will be making the stilting attack like the player was doing that this attack like he's getting intercepted by like the suppose and that way like when like the suppose like taking 11 away and that way like I'm just as like as like Joyce and like Hopper and like whatever man all will be about to lose 11 like at that very last second is when I'm referring that 11 like maybe some way last 11 by exactly at that very fun moment that 11 is able to be taken away by the government like that very last second 11 gaining back of power is like the possible scenario that I'm going to bring and like that makes it possible for like 11 to like save herself and take down like correction votes and that way that Hopper as well as 11 getting failed that during that that exchange which I'm totally forgetting to do was like data in place in that office like corruption posts like showing up to hoping to make that exchange like the scenario that was over like I am in and when to know maybe understand of different like what to do not that they do in that exchange that like that trade of team member of that owns from the web reference maybe then the government speaking of really getting extremely more confidence of that the exchange that will be ending up being that was that like I'm just connecting or constantly revealing himself in front of that points and definitely I'm just like him totally not really having an agreement with like sort of the process to that basically during like the exchange got into that permanently Hawkins and head off to like Russia. And where like we might be promised a lot of things by like the Russian goes like might be like the level working together. Right? So like that way that owns like certainly finding out about like the breakup in its field during like the point of like the exchange like it's another that and that way like not referring like eventually once like will be gaining back across like knows that you're taking down that breakup as well is like very good scenario that I'm putting over the right and then okay, so like definitely those trends are right now that I perceive situation and person might potentially not like using them to like build the data, select the password like will go like totally see like the chant or just mind flap from like the bad word while when being in like the real world like this might be exactly what might be happening with the CFL is like minimum condition like the humanoid monster with like the face the simulated humanoid monster with like the face that we see right now I've seen that might be the monster that naturally that person might be present at like the parallel world and not in like the real world. might be the crack located to fit the film and surrender. So definitely it might have been a scenario where like need like after like the minimum was like brought down like that it might be a strategy. The next strategy that the giant of the Minecraft from like the bad world might have used. It might have been to like fuse like the faceless humanoid monster with like the elements of like the giant of the Minecraft to create this like new humanoid Minecraft with like the face might be the slack how this new monster might have been born. Might be that that 20 minutes is definitely my recommendation. So like about the mind of the come from different like direction process in that the fast in that direction and the level of interaction might have succeeded in like opening like the gate and that might be how that like direction process were able to like capture like this that basis humanoid monster and get like the basis humanoid monster while infiltrating into like that direction and the level of interaction set like might have taken out a lot of that people there as well as in that lab as well as like might have caused like a lot of discussion so like to three like corruption folks might have turned off that compass machine and like that way the date might have been closing and definitely at present like corruption folks might be planning like to achieve the space like corruption folks might be only planning on like creating an entire army of like cases similar sponsor and in order to like control and tame all those like great number of like spaces similar monster until like the scientists like being able to like do their experiments onto like the faces of humanoid monster to make like the faces humanoid monsters to be taking orders from the correction person like which might be definitely the correction person like present for ultimate will might be the case of the human pyramid to like until that to like take and to like uh, keep like the lab safe from like and prevent like more as like they will be planning on bringing more to children not to like to be the pain might be the reason for like that person as they might have only recently found out about like 11 still being alive that the need for like elements might be that actually for this specific reason to like change like the using elements powers to like change it like the changes in your to change might be like the case that we were trained in that. Don't imagine and don't different like the giant of the minds are as person might be fairly aware of that the case to like the real world being having been opened somewhere, but like the giant of the mind where that we might have frantically searched all around tokens in like the real world to like find out where exactly the game is in the open like state, but like just like the giant or the giant black might have definitely not been able to like find out any open gate or broad while even after searching on broad pocket the like random might be definitely the case. So definitely like so while like the giant of the mind flap might have decided to like go off to like search and find exactly uh from talking to like the bad world to far away distance to like find out where exactly the game is in like the open state like while the channel might have decided to like set up that it might have at that point decided to like create this like new monster by combining like the faceless humanoid monster and its like control with like the Minecraft elements and created might have created like this like that humanoid monster with like the face for it to like basically like to take care of that the whole revenge against like Mike and all of them and like tokens while like the giant of the mind plus that shop to like find like where exactly the gate to like open that things that open like state might have been like the case that maybe on the so like at present like the giant of the mind club might be on a travel on a journey all throughout like the band but so that's why they to like find out where exactly the gate and like the open like state so that like so that like at that point it would like to be sent an entire army of like criminal space to the Navy dark like members under like the control of the giant person Minecraft along with maybe even like the humanoid nodes of with like face as well, which might be exceptionally strong and might be having like unique powers when compared to the other humanoid faces monsters as well as like the dark like definitely not for him. It's like we that the giant of the mind player able to like quickly find like the gate this time before like the gate closes like for to be able to like send all those like most of armies that the giant of the mind player had in like the world might have prepared by now. Might be definitely what like giant of the mind player person might be desperate for. Definitely might consider him. So like the giant of the mind player for them the return to the person might be on that whole frantic journey to like find exactly where like the game is like open also definitely my very ambition right now is definitely for like the monster element of like the Minecraft, which might be ready to see at present. Like I'm so different like definitely in front of ready to that totally would have totally fully taken off the fish and basically that way like I'm so different like if we might be in control like I'm doing that but we totally that I'm so different like in front of ready that the light keep on flipping until like the point that eventually like the power fully going out and had like the eddy smoke. And basically at that point like and after a while like once that eddy will be turning on like the power like and one by the sea would be missing. It's like the scenario that I was different. So definitely from that point on from the next day on like and like news about like the sea going missing from eddy smoke spreading and basically that the police like arresting eddy. It's like the scenario that I was scared. And then so different like for like the scenario to be like after 80 like the next individuals to get into like problem of different maybe that the exact group members to place this like game of like Vecna especially when trainers so like the other members in like that group other than Mike and gang like and being that the next targets of like that like Chrissy would be while being under like the control of like that most of will be uh getting targeted is like the by your conscience is like the scenario that I'm going or like that element of like the Minecraft like and the point will be next infected probably brain is being exactly by your conscience is being exactly that members of like that play in that edit game or like the scenario that I'm that way that the other members of like that game other than Mike and Dan like recently getting going mixing one by one with like the scenario that I was so like that way like I was working at school that this that rumor going on that basically to test out that all this that specifically that people who's like connected to that the those who was kept playing like the games of right now that they okay preparing for like at that point for like students at like the school like okay making fun of like my and gang that is it's because of like them playing like the game of like right now that basically like the group members are like from starting from like the level are all getting into trouble one by one and like for like my and gang to like when we prepare themselves because like they are going to be next with along the line like and like the students like talking and making fun of like Mike and that Mike and like and it's like missing out of that that way like I'm the correct definitely that definitely I'm looking like Mike and Gang not believe that, but like I'm so most likely definitely not believe that, but definitely Mike and Gang totally deciding to that at that point definitely with like their leader getting into trouble like definitely I'm looking like Dustin and Mike and Erica most likely wanting to that. By then like they would have grown fond of that getting that like they would want to that. And they would be like late only believing that like I'm so different like Dustin and Erica most likely maybe totally believing that like Dustin would that like Eddie would definitely be innocent. So like definitely not to like save Eddie like and them deciding to do their own investigation. So like that way I was going like spend like in the defense of Eddie like the gang of like Dustin Mike as well as like Erica that would be for doing the whole investigation to like find out the truth behind like the missing of like Sushi and like the other members of like their gang. Like the eventual scenario that I'm sure all of you Yes, so like definitely there's range of right now that like 11 moving to California that right now might be like the very first time that might be meeting 11. That's definitely one transition. So definitely might have definitely told like Maxine to like come with like might to like meet 11 but like I'm sorry, it might have been definitely Maxine might have definitely thought might that like that she's not coming right now because like definitely that the preparation might be definitely Maxine might definitely the last thing Maxine might want might be to like upset Eleven even though Maxine did not might be so badly wanting to like meet Eleven again like the last thing Maxine might want might be for like the drama of like Maxine definitely causing issues like totally definitely I'm worried that Maxine might seems like Maxine right now confident might adopt due to all that trauma in her like I'm whispering that if like everyone sees like Maxine in Maxine like person state like that would like seriously sadden and upset element would they definitely see the strong feeling that like Maxine will be having stuff given and that might be the last thing that Maxine might want for like Eleven. So definitely even though Maxine might be badly wanting to like meet Eleven that Maxine might have probably thought that no to like might and Maxine might be probably perfect to that for her to be able to like somehow be able to like get over her trauma and basically at least get close to her also so that like at that point like she can like as soon as possible be able to like go to California and meet friend but from that might be along the line like might be no only wishing right now that person is definitely my family. So definitely able to like my team state out might be like person might be sad about like not being able to like meet go up to California and meet might be like that suitable to definitely my preparation. It's like the feeling I'm understanding right now is definitely for like just for to be good most likely towards like the end of that season for spring the things that I'm focusing for like Steve and Robin to like finally be in like a relationship with like end up in a relationship with like the scenario that I was so like under that point like just like for fear for like Vinci like Robin like I'm focused on like really ending up with like Robin eventually confessing like building up enough courage and nervously that confessing some feeling towards that Vicky is like the scenario that I'm saying. It's really at that point that I'm looking like Robin having that some realization that like probably Vicky is that not the different Vicky might be not so be into Robin as well as like I'm talking about Vicky being extremely fast about it and that of the mocking Robin and making fun of Robin for like expressing her feelings towards like Vicky in front of like Vicky's friends with that the scenario that I'm referring and yeah, referring that then that is like the schools finding out about like Robin being into women like the scenario that I'm referring. And I'm talking about that point, like the situation of Steve as well, with like Steve's like as well, like flushing out like the scenario that I'm going with. So like at that point, I was going to stay like totally finding about it in like that awkward state. And probably I'm going to most likely in tears and like extremely sad. Like so at that point, I'm looking for like this Steve that will be like probably cleaned up or like Steve alone that probably will be cleaned up for like Robin and particular about this like scenario that I was talking about. Definitely at that point, I'm also bring like during that interaction between like Steve and Robin, like once again like that dialogue about like Steve and Robin like about combination will be happening is like the scenario that I'm bringing and I'm so different for to be only at that point that I'm different like Steve would be even shocked we are realizing that like Robin just also into guys as well. It's like the scenario that I'm bringing and so different for to be only at that point that like once again like as like during the interaction, character flow of the interaction, like I'm different Robin, from the actually from like Robin's like now like once again Robin actually like once again saying that it's that dialogue not like skill uh, about like combination and like how like the and I'm about to bring like at that point like Robin had it that up with something realization that like Steve and Robin is like perfect for each other. And on such lines like Robin probably feeling at that point and definitely at that point like Robin finding helping Steve out on a date with like the scenario that I was saying. And that way in the end of different that Steve and Robin like ending up being in that relationship towards like the end of season four. It's like of things expected scenarios that I'm about to bring up. Okay, so like my question to Ryan is right now it's also perfect about it that maybe like he might actually know what he wants and that might be just that Robin and Robin alone. Might be like that to different situation, definitely not for it. But like since let's see a person might only strongly feeling that like he can't have a Robin that like he might be desperately trying to might be still desperate attempt to like move on from Robin that like Steve would be even at present maybe going on a great number of days. Uh, might be that attempt of Steve definitely on its own. So like definitely I'm looking also for like another purpose scenario where like according to the president eventually last decade halfway rejecting Robin and at that point Robin being in that rock sort of situation and at that point like Steve's situation most likely being that the girl around that time like when Steve might be desperately trying to make himself believe that like he has a crush on so need to like move on from Robin that girl that basically that coming up to like Steve and like telling confessing to like Steve that she has a crush on Steve is like the scenario that I'm going. So like Steve at that point like would be showing like looking for Robin and like going up to let Robin to like tell that update in like feels like when like Steve might be shortly finding Robin in this like awkward situation. So like I'm looking at that point like during this whole interaction between like Steve and Robin like at that point while Spring will be comforting Robin that comes that Robin like coming down to such a conclusion that like individually Steve and Robin are like imperfect, but together they are absolutely perfect. If you're on the line like Robin at that point will be feeling it like being within our environment. So like at that point like finally Steve will be then realizing that like Robin is like the guy and basically definitely at that point like straight away at that point, I thought it like Steve totally straight away rejecting like the girl who as like would be confessing to like Steve that she has a person Steve and like Speedway would be going on that date with like Robin and basically so the maybe during their date that like Steve would even be like revealing to like Robin how like usually the girl Steve was like just really trying to like make himself believe that he had a crush on like basically in fact actually had a crush on Steve and basically Steve had rejected her. Steve revealing that to like Robin during that day is like also like anyone's and Robin being shocked at that point is like feeling the scenario that I looked at all this way and that's so like according to my information for the settings for that eventually that the recruiter like attending for that exchange between like South and 11 and that exchange to most likely like the location for that exchange to most likely be happening at like Hawkins and basically eventually the Russian post getting taken out during that exchange that they brought on during that exchange and basically definitely that way Hopper getting saved and Hopper like would be attempting to like return back to his status as like chief sheriff and definitely at that point, I'm definitely that Calvin Powell that I'm so different that the current chief police chief that sheriff that Calvin Powell that I'm so different that him, especially because of that him only forgetting that friendship that he had with Black Hopper and definitely especially with Black him no and him so different into the person like even after Black Hawkins like more fire like involving like the mini mind player like I'm remembering like even when like the mini mind player was like brought down like the boss like I'm like the morning Robin like even at that point I'm like due to the presence of like points and the stream like I'm before like the police might have arrived at like the mall like and like the mini mind player the giant cinema infra which was present in like the mall which was like brought down like it's like body might have been cleared out before like the police might have arrived as definitely not true. In that way like I'm bringing like even to the person like Calvin Powell like might be that the sheriff the chief sheriff like Calvin Powell into the person might be like unaware of like anything about like the bad word or like anything about like the parallel world or like about like the faces monsters of like the parallel world or anything about it at all. Definitely not for language. So definitely I was trying that way one like for will be returning back. Would be getting saved. Upon would definitely be getting saved and would be I think like return back to his position as like chief police like at that point of different like by then like I'm Calvin Point to get obsessed with like the position of like I think like the chief of police there and so they protect that him so they at that point will be straight away trying to like without even giving Hopper a chance to like explain like I'm looking for like him to do like this like obsession and maybe not maybe just like the to like not wanting like his obsess like position as like the chief of police to that Hopper like I'm so looking like Calvin Paul most likely at that point that frame its Hopper as like basically as like being unwell and basically having and hence having that abandoned and doing absconding from this like responsible person of like the chief of police and basically that way hence like Hopper that conflict of like returning back to like the position of chief of police of like talking to be along the lines of the that without even giving Hopper a chance like explain that and was like maybe chief the current police chief that Calvin Cohen that only forgetting his that bond with that director and let the passes like Hopper and everything. And definitely that way like a book for like Hopper after this return not being able to like after like return the person like Hopper not being able to like return back to like the police office like given the scenario that I'm looking at all the current so definitely I'm looking like that way in like season 5 what that so things like I'm looking Hopper without having it like uh, question of like the sheriff like I'm referring would be how like sort of in like season 5 would be still I think that personal investigation against like the notes of that mind player and everything in like season 5 is like the listener that I'm looking for the correct time of the dream. So like that way according to my social theory impression by referring that even in like season 5 even towards like the very end of like season 5 I'm referring that what to be most likely the current police chief that Gavin found to remain as like the police chief even towards like the very end of like the season 5 of Stranger Things and so referring to what to be only towards like very end that I'm about like thing properly even finding out about like basically all the happenings about like the parallel world as well as like the monsters and everything is like film scenario that have to depression and definitely requiring like focus help for him to be able to like do anything about it. Like film scenario that help him only towards the end even realizing that focus greatness is like film scenario that have to depression and definitely And maybe I'm referring like towards like the end of like by spring the things like for making that absolute sacrifice to like product like focus and like entire goal like over ending up in a situation where like being forced to like make that absolute sacrifice to like perfect like focus and like the entire goal from like the monsters of like the battle board and definitely I'm referring that that way towards like the very end like the entirety of like the focus as well as like the entirety of like the goal like basically realizing like the greatness of like share of just like the scenario that I look at over the game. And my book which and actually I'm looking like at that point like catching ball like most likely uh, maybe right before like that sacrifice of then or like and then after that sacrifice of like purpose career like I'm focusing like target forward like basically like taking that kind of concussion right up to like the grave of that purpose that scenario that I'm looking at and that's yes, yeah, like the human friend right now said that Eddie might remind Maxine so much about that Maxine productivity. Might be that character to who is being information might be sole reason for that Maxine still even to the person having no reported to like the police about like seeing that Eddie and she together before like the see with his loss. Definitely will remember so the player was bring like Justin without much great delay that getting Maxine to like agree to like probably Eddie and they still talk to that Eddie. And definitely I'm going at that point that definitely Eddie would be totally having that absolute fear of like basically Eddie even tells Maxine and Dustin like the truth like he not even Dustin would be even Eddie would be around the lines of that absolute fear Eddie might be having about like the night with like Eddie and the things that happen. So definitely I'm referring that Eddie might be also having that absolute fear of like basically if that educates the truth, like them, uh, them also not killing them as well as like them the possibility of like them even telling about it to like the police and the police as well not killing Eddie and at the same time even asking Eddie might be along the lines of that absolute fear Eddie might be having this totally so that they are doing like Eddie totally putting on that fake acting and like in front of like Maxine as well as like Dustin as definitely they're trying to like quickly get away from that and like quickly lying to them about like even that meeting or interacting with like okay that might that person are they totally pretending that he knew anything about like repeat like showing up to his home that basically when he woke up that he had seen like repeat that in that chapter if they fully along the lines of people like Eddie can we don't lying to that person as well as like my kid it's like the scenario that I'm doing. And definitely I'm doing like so that like how much that person knows any of that kind of thing will be able to like his vision that like any like totally lying to like the thing is like the scenario that I was trying yet like that's will be totally strongly also feeling that there might be some justifiable reason for like Eddie lying to like Dustin and definitely still believe that like Eddie's like innocent. But like I'm just at that point like I think fully totally put out of the fixed in her mind to like definitely report to like the reason that way like Maxine or by herself like without that without getting that agreement from that person like Abdul Maxine uh, by herself that going up to like the station and basically reporting to that Calvin Thorne about like seeing Eddie and Percy together on that night. And that way like Eddie solely due to like Maxine like that reporting like for the point that Eddie getting arrested like the scenario that I'm supposed to and definitely I'm going in the sense on finding out about this like that's in the playing Maxine and definitely I'm going like definitely like something will be telling Maxine that definitely sure Eddie might definitely lie to them but like definitely Eddie would definitely not show that like there might be some justifiable reason that will be along the line that person who is strongly and confidently to be telling Maxine and that whole interaction eventually ending up with like Maxine starting to like doubt herself and basically starting to like feel that have that feeling of guilt and basically like thinking of like Eddie and like thinking of feeling how much like Eddie reminding Maxine of like Eddie and like everything and that way like that guilt would be increasing more and more feeling of guilt come from different increasing more and more living like Maxine to the point of like Maxine not being able to like not even sleep at night without finding out the truth if that kid is like innocent or not if that is a scenario that I'm that way I'm going to Maxine to like totally lead like this like for private investigation along with like justice is like to find out the truth behind like the loss of the since that the angel scenario that I'm looking at currently. Okay, so like the name of the mentioned right now is that elements like insecurity might be such that like 11 might be a person might be having less strong feeling that like it was like 11 the fact that 11 had all those like superpowers that made 11 like extremely crucial, like Mike and all of like 11's friends will be from Hawkins will be along the lines like 11 might be fortunately having like to studying and totally with like the loss of proper like it might be at present might be going to be extremely insecure that if like with like 11 even to the present like having gained back her powers like which might definitely be the case. So definitely 11 might be having that extreme insecurity and fear within her of the development like might totally finding 11 unfolds and basically not cool and basically that way like due to like 11 not having her powers like 11 might be trying to like that's really attempting to like make up for it by like with like or by like so much to like might and that way trying to make herself like really trying to like make herself um, what she believes would be making herself look for by like lying about all the things might be so that like Mike won't leave her might be along the lines of that fear that like 11 might be fear and insecurity that 11 might be having is definitely one thing. 11 might be having that fear that like might find 11 boring at present and like might break up with like 11. So like the feeling of preemption right now, especially for that mentally without mentality, like I'm going that 11 telling more like to Mike and basically at that point like will totally from being able to like, take it and that will in front of like Mike like calling 11 out of something like that doesn't have and is all the perfect. And so the point like 11 still with like more life like somehow managing that situation and basically once like Mike would be very stepping away from that 11 like at that point I'm going like 11 being extremely rude to like Corbin and basically telling them to like go away and leave 11 and Mike alone. Would be along the lines in an extremely harsh and rude manner like 11 acting towards like towards like Corbin reflecting the scenario that I'm looking and that totally is the talking how that like the important sadness within like Corbin and I'm looking like the straight away leaving is like the scenario that I'm also totally cutting in. Definitely I'm looking like Mike pretty briefly stepping away and like once like my finger and like my should be confused that like quite bit left. And at that point I'm also like 11 even adding in more lights and basically telling my that like they wanted to like give them privacy along social lines and basically definitely I'm also like and I'm totally finding like eventually for like all of like 11's life like falling apart. It eventually once like 11 will be taking my to show like 11's like school and basically 11 will be running into like Angela like personality and like Angela and other like being extremely rude to like 11 especially Angela it's like personality talking and making fun of like 11 is like in front of my just like personality so like at that point like I'm totally bring Mike talking back and like Mike protecting 11 and Mike taking 11 away from them and like at that point is when I'm looking like that serious stuff happening that might at that point behind that realization as to like maybe why as to like why will might tell that basically definitely I'm remembering that serious stuff happening between that Mike and Eleven where like I'm during that stuff and not going well and basically that it ending up in like a party between that Mike and Eleven. It's like given the scenario that I'm just going to bring and I'm very ambitious. And then I'm totally praying for like Mike to like personally talk to that Will and basically being at that point that like Mike will be totally finding out about like the true extent of that situation of that event. Events like California, it's like the scenario that I'm going to bring. And definitely I'm going to bring support Mike will be leaving from California and the different Mike like repeatedly telling Eleven to like return back to run back to like Hawkins and Disney for like 11 to like stay with like Maxine. Uh, that would make Maxine totally happy. Will be along the lines like my would really telling 11, but like 11 for me not agreeing. And like basically, and I'm also bring like even that conversation not going well because like definitely within like 11, like definitely especially with like Angela, even making fun of that offer, like definitely I was bring for 11, like 11 would have made it fixed in her mind to like definitely to throw them all wrong that and they lead to like not given to like all of those like person like of like all of them and like to all those like pressure surrounding her and they need to fight against it and like offer like and basically to for some all of that substance might be around the lines of like the mindset and desire like the knows might be having so like definitely get like not revealing anything or opening up the mic and basically might not getting it and that way like I'm looking that might returning from that California not while not being in such situation that it's like given the scenario that I'm the putting and with the real And then probably everything needed for like 11 and will having like a huge war and fight once like 11 will be like returning back home from like the airport after like might would be leaving from California. Like the scenario that I'm referring for like when I got the manipulation like telling revealing the truth about like 11 like to Mike like in the scenario that I'm referring and definitely totally putting that way like saying a lot of harsh things towards that for well and totally putting still eventually I'm totally putting for like to realize that come to such a realization that like will not like fight all along and basically that like probably apologizing to that way because like the for all of the harsh things get to like this like it was just an scenario that I'm talking about it's definitely on the explanation, though actually the one friends that like the current name also might be like the combination of like the humanoid basic monster as well as like the mind flare. And hence like the monster like the new monster having a face might be reflected the situation the new monster and definitely my very message before that right now at present that the mind and that new monster might be definitely taking orders from like the original giant mind flare from like the definitely one so like according to its plan like the plan might be to that this time prioritize health in that a totally in that only different way, which might be at present might be seen by like design or mind as like a way more efficient way of like steps like basically even in Will's case, like while taking control of Will as well, like Mike and Gan had like found out as well as like even in like Billy's case as well, when Billy was taken on control. Even at that point as well, like the mind players like plans had failed with like Mike and was finding out like this time like and like the mind players like strategy of stealth might be totally different to infect and make it appear as if like the targets of like the mind player have ended up passing away so that like they will be like buried like at that point that is the after like they will be buried and after like the entirety of like the town of Hawkins will be lack of like the belief that they have passed away so like then for like the mind to like this like new monster like to totally make its move and through its like remote control over like over like it's like victims to like totally infected victims to like totally like move them out of the grave from like the buried state and this mean to like stealthily with that absolute stealth like that way to like within like the fort like and the different for that for like then to like join up and basically that way with that absolute stealth for like the mind blast like stealthy and like the new monster like stealthy make it smooth and create it like a new set of like human army which will be all like and different like definitely after to see like the next target like and like Shimon for protecting for all of them to like end up like appearing as they have passed away. But like I'm definitely different like exactly like how index of the definitely different to say might be totally alive, but like might be totally part of like this you want just like strategy to like make it appear as like something else like passed away. Might be like that way of the situations definitely might be the soul. And that way taking a totally different approach to stealth might be like that the difference definitely might so like going to my differentiation, I think focus to like either like currently that penny motor and like the then mind club at certain might be totally unaware of like the present location of like being at like California. It's like one person that I'm going to was this for like these monsters to be aware of like the exact location, present location of like 11, but like might be very unaware of like 11, maybe having lost her powers, might be like geographic situations like the other Pacific that and hence like just with that aspect that for it to like once again create like an entire even stronger army that like the that in season 3 and with that approach that the span even more great still the span to like that they bring down 11 might be like the plan of like the new month of maybe like the plan of like the giant what's in mind might be that that's the situations like a doesn't say that about spring. Yes, sir. Like, certainly, my ambition right now is certainly that like the minimum player this time through like its control of like this like new monster of like uh, humanoid monster perspective is might be to take control of its like human targets might be most likely through the strategy of like using tiny spiders to like infect its like human targets might be like the activity of like the communication with human persons might be how like the might over infected and present like but as well getting infected might have been through this like tiny spiders might be like that your people the situation that you know train. And definitely by the reemphasize that like it might be only such extremely tiny spiders alone that like the mind blur this time might be even able to like take the form of present. And that might be solely due to like at present like the only gate that might be at like the open like state might be like the only gate at like the Russian energy about breaking like Russia. So like such a remote distant controlling of like the mind flare elements like might be what like the situation of like the mind flare from like the parable that might be going. So that definitely due to such a remote distance like such tiny form of like mind flare element through the form of like tiny spiders might be like the only form that's like a present that's possible for like the mind flare deposit might be like that with the situation like about to get that up with the and so the play of the instance that like it might be totally this way that the mind flare okay always constantly having access to like the now memories that might be the reason for like the mind flare knowing about like the personal and for traumatic memories of that to see as well as that thread supplement training. Okay, so like the lead my computer understand right now that it might have been a scenario where like Nancy might have been about to like head off to like California, but like might see like Jonathan went in at like that last second might have been when like Nancy might have happened to like see like the news of that receipt. And definitely since it's like that news might have definitely lost like Nancy to like only the instant feeling that might have popped up thought that might have popped up in like Nancy's might have been about like the mind flare, like the possibility of that basically the loss of physics, maybe possibility having to do with like maybe the mind flare, like once again making its move, might be along the line, secondly, since with like it's been like so many repeated attempts by like the mind flare and like the monsters of like the parallel world that I'm probably putting like that by now. Might be of such a mindset where like the first thought that might be coming to like Nancy's mind might be exactly that of like the mind flare stepping on the thread. And hence like Nancy might have straight away decided that basically like to directly not even risk like letting like something such a news like such a possibility events like to like meet Jonathan might be along the lines like Nancy might have straight away decided and hence like solely due to that news of see along like Nancy might have decided to like not head off to like California might be like that with the thread.